G'day guys, before we start the vlog today, I do have a very exciting announcement. The next vlog that I make won't actually be from here, and when I say won't be from here, I don't just mean Crown, I don't mean a home game. The next vlog I'm going to make will be from the Star Casino in Sydney. I'm flying up to Sydney this Thursday for non-poker related things, but whilst I'm there, I'm definitely going to get at least one poker session in, and I'm going to vlog that out to you guys. So if you're in Sydney in the weekend, you'll see me at the poker tables creating a vlog. So definitely subscribe to my channel so you get that vlog when it comes out. But for now, enjoy this vlog. G'day again everyone, welcome back to yet another vlog. It is about 7 PM on a Sunday evening, which you guys know is a very late start for me. But the reason we're starting a bit later is because one, big party last night, I'm a bit hungover, but two, we are going back to yet another home game. It's actually the same home game I was at 2 vlogs ago, where I made some speculative 4-bet bluff with a 6-5 suitor or something like that. But regardless, we're going back to that game, 136 yet again. And let's hope we can run a bit better. I'll take that back. Let's hope we can play a bit better than we did last time we were there. Let's go. Alright, so it is about 10 past 8. We are at the Crown parking lot. Fortunately for us, the home game is directly across from Crown, so getting there will be very convenient from here. Drive here, traffic report. Traffic was very, very smooth, which is actually pretty typical of a Sunday afternoon. Not many people are out and about driving compared to the other days in the week, so that was very convenient for us. So now, heading over to the home game. Hopefully we can run good, but even if we don't, let's get some hands out to you.
Low-key, keep it softly spoken, with no strings tying you to me. I'm happy in your company with no emotion, 'cause my love deserves to be free. I never wanna look at a house in the garden, I never wanna lock you down. I know you're not mine, it's just my turn, but we can still have fun for now. Told me you don't really do commitment, trust me, consider your message received. When you said you couldn't take us too seriously, I must admit I was relieved. 'Cause I never wanna play happy families with you, but I like having you around. I'm fully aware this is a flash in the pan, but we can still have fun for now.
It is currently 4 AM in the morning. We've just played a monster 8-hour session, and fortunately we were able to run really, really good, and we had a absolute super session with very good results for a 600 buy-in game. We'll go over the hands with you later. Of course, after 8 hours of poker, I'm completely exhausted, so I'm going to get some rest, but then we'll come back with the hands, and you guys will get to see that I ran really well.
Told me that it's over, I know it's true. You made me happy for a while. I remember fleeting times when we stepped on top of cars. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. I remember fleeting times when we watched the sparks so far. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. When you
G'day everyone, we're back at my favourite place to record hand histories, the rooftop car park of Crown. Of course, the session we played last night wasn't at Crown, it was at the home game, and I had a massive super session and I ended up winning a lot.
And you'll see with these hands that we go over, I did run very, very well in the hands that I am going over now, but we just don't have the time to go over all the pots I did win last night. So there are going to be a few huge pots that I won. They're going to be omitted from the analysis in this hand, but you'll see with the ones that we have anyway, I did run pretty well, much like I did in this first hand. So it's the 1-3-6 game. So when the action falls to me in the low jack with pocket fives, I raise it up to 20, and then only the straddle calls. So we are heads up to a flop of Queen, Queen, 5 with 2 spades. So you can already see the run good. It's starting to kick in pretty much straight away. I flop a full house here. When the straddle checks it over to me, definitely want to bet for value on this board. I decide to size down, only make it 15. And size down to try and get called by some ace high hands, also keep in some pocket pairs, but I definitely think there's merit to sizing up because a lot of those hands are going to call a $25 bet as much as they're going to call $15 bet. So do size down though, and then the straddle calls. So still heads up to the turn. The turn's a pretty interesting one. It is the ace of hearts. So the straddle checks it over to me. Definitely want to continue to bet our full house for value here. I make a pretty considerable mistake here on the turn. I go ahead and bet 40. I really don't like the size of my bet here. I think I can bet much, much bigger and still get called by the same range of hands. Because remember on the flop I said I'd bet small to keep some of my opponent's ace high type hands in. Well, now the turn's an ace. So a lot of those hands that called on the flop have now made top pair. So I think I can bet much bigger than like half pot. I bet a bit over half pot, but I think I could even bet like 100 into 75 here and still get called by a lot of aces. Obviously, if my opponent has a queen, they're not going to fold to any size that I'm going to bet here. So I definitely like sizing up bigger than 40 here. The other thing about betting 100 as opposed to betting 40, I think I'm going to fold out a similar range of hands with both bet sizes. Like if my opponent does have pocket sixes, he's probably going to fold when I bet 40 anyway. But if he does call the 40 and he thinks I'm bluffing, like he might call 100 and think, like, I just don't think there's that much of a difference in the range of hands my opponent's going to fold if I bet 100 as opposed to betting 40. So I might as well go for that extra value when I'm called. But as played, I make the mistake, bet 40, and the straddle still calls. So that's very good news that he did call, at least. The river is the 6 of diamonds, so front door flush missed, and this is a pretty considerable brick on the board. So when the straddle checks the action over to me, obviously still going to bet for value, and now I do finally decide to mix in the overbet. I make it 200 into the roughly 155 pot. I think the graphic will be up on the screen anyway, but I do go ahead and bet 200 as the overbet. It's the same logic. I sort of caught up to what I should have been doing on the turn on the river here, and now I'm really trying to inflate the pot. I think an ace will be very tempted to call this bet. I think a queen is always going to call this bet, so I just really want to maximise it. Oh, and I think a flush draw is always going to fold here, unless it's the ace high flush draw, which again, I think an ace might call here, so I just really want to bet for max value. I just really wish I had a bet bigger on the turn, so I could have bet, 300 or 400 on this river and still get called by those hands. But as played, I bet the 200, and then my opponent's in the tank for about 2 minutes before eventually calling. So obviously that's great news. We show our full house and then they muck. So this is where the run good started on the session. More to come though. The under the gun player who has actually made the vlog before, he opens to 15, and the action folds to me in the cutoff. I have pocket queens. Obviously going to raise this one up for value. I make it 55, then folds back round to the under the gun player who calls. So we are heads up to a flop, 966 rainbow. Under the gun checks it to me. I go ahead and throw in the C-bet. Obviously want to get value with my queens here. Any 9, pocket 10s, pocket jacks, all hands that could potentially call. 8-7's a straight draw. Obviously I'm going to bet for value here. It's a no-brainer. I go ahead and bet 35, and then he calls. The turn is the 8 of diamonds. The under the gun checks it to me again. And I decide to bet, obviously going to continue to bet for value with my queens. I decide to bet a bit bigger here. I make it 120. I decide to size up a bit just because I think this card I think a lot of the hands that called on the flop are going to be tempted to call on the turn. Like if my opponent does have like 10-9, pocket 10s, even like 8-7 suited, all those hands are going to continue to call on this turn. This is actually a really good turn for those hands. So I decide to size up for value a bit here, and then the under the gun player calls again. So we are still heads up to the river, which is the ace of clubs. Now, okay, so the under the gun player checks it to me, and this card might seem like a bit of a scare for me, just because it is an overcard to my overpair. But when you actually consider the range of hands that my opponent called with on the turn, I don't think they have a lot of aces. Like if my opponent did open ace-9 suited under the gun, they're going to fold that when they get 3-bet. So I do think they have like maybe 10-9, 9-8 in their range, but I don't think they have ace-9. And I don't think they have ace-6 suited either. Like they probably call with ace-9 suited more than they call with ace-6 suited, but both are just hands that are probably going to fold to a 3-bet. So I'm really not concerned about my opponent having an ace. There's not even like there's no flush draw on the flop that they call with the nut flush draw. So yeah, this might be a spot where a lot of players get a bit scared because it's an overcard to their pair, but I think it's kind of a brick, to be honest with you. I don't really have an ace. Maybe this isn't a scare card for my opponents that has a hand like 9-10 or pocket 10s, but at the same time, if you want to get into that like level thinking, this is also a really good card for me to bluff, so I definitely should be, because like I can represent ace-king, ace-queen, etc. Hands I'm going to 3-bet and potentially bluff with on the flop and turn. So I think with pocket queens, I want to continue to bet for value here. I go ahead and make it 200, and then my opponent is in the tank for probably about a minute before eventually calling. So we show the pocket queens and we are good. So the run good continues until this next hand, and I think I do run good in this hand, but not sure about how I played it. I am on the button with king 8 suited, and there's actually 2 early position limps in front of me. So when the action folds to me, I think I should just be folding here. King 8 suited is a pretty poor hand. I think if I had king 9 suited, I'd be much more inclined to play that hand, just because it is a bit stronger, because it can flop straights, stuff like that, which king 8 can never do. So I definitely think folding would be the best play here, but I actually decided to go ahead with the overlimp. Overlimping isn't something I do very often when I play these cash games, but I do like to do it on the button sometimes, just because you're going to have position. But when I do it, usually like to use stronger hands than king 8, but regardless, I make the mistake and overlimp the king 8 on the button, then the big blind limps as well, and the straddle checks. So we are 5 ways to a flop, and the flop is king 6-4 with the 6-4 of hearts. So we flop top pair with a flush draw. The action checks around to me, and I actually decide to check it back. I definitely think there's some merit to betting for value here. With so many people in the pot, can bet for thin value here to get called by like a 6 or a straight draw or a worse flush draw potentially. It's kind of hard when we do block a lot of the flush draws with king 8 here, but I decide to go ahead and check. They turn the lights on so you can see me now. So we are still 5 ways to a turn, which is the 5 of hearts. So running pretty good, turn the king high flush, and then the action checks to the under the gun limper, and he goes ahead and bets 25 into the roughly $30 pot, so a pretty big bet. So when the action folds to me, this is actually kind of a difficult spot with the king high flush here. I definitely like raising for value to get called by the ace high flush draw, potentially worse flushes, but I don't think there are many worse flushes. Like I think the under the gun player is going to semi-bluff his flush draws on the flop. The players in the blinds probably betting flushes on the turn. And then obviously there is the risk that the opponent does have the ace high flush draw, since they're limping a lot of suited aces under the gun. So definitely not too excited about inflating the pot here with a raise. So I do decide to just call. That might be a mistake, that might be leaving money on the table, but I decide to keep my calling range strong with the king high flush here, and then both of the players in the blinds fold. So we are heads up to a river. The river is the 7 of diamonds, which is a bit interesting, does put out a 4-liner to a straight. But what's even more interesting is what the under the gun player does next. He goes ahead and bets 150. So you're seeing it right. The pot's 81, and he's betting 150 into an 81 pot, and I'm sitting here with a king high flush. This is a gross spot, I'll be honest with you, because my opponent, like I said on the turn, he could potentially be limping under the gun with any ace X suited hand. Like, that's 100% legit. It's a hand he could just be playing like this, and he's overbetting the river because he wants to stack a worse flush, which is actually what I have. But not only do I lose to ace X suited, I also lose to 2-3 suited, because that's a straight flush, right? 7-3 suited. I'm not sure this play would limp that under the gun regardless, but obviously, even though I have a king high flush, it's like the fourth nuts here. Like, I do not have a very strong hand where my opponent goes ahead and bets 150. Like, that's scary, and I'm definitely concerned I'm losing here. My problem with this hand is that I limped pre-flop when I absolutely should not have. Like, if I'm in this spot with king 9 of hearts, like, that's not as big a deal because it's not happening that often, but I'm just limping way too many suited kings on the button here when I should not be doing that. So if there's one mistake in the hand, it goes to pre-flop. Maybe not raising the turn's a mistake, but definitely just limping the button, awful play with the king 8 suited. Do not do it, guys, please. You'll end up in gross spots like this. But back to the hand, back to the street we're on, which is the river. I think my opponent is not bluffing here. If they are bluffing with an ace, like ace of hearts, 10 of clubs, like some hand like that with just the naked ace of hearts, this is going to be a really good play because it looks very, very strong. But I think when they are limping all those ace X hands under the gun, and if they do have the nuts or even a straight flush, I think they're really going to try to inflate the pot. So I actually go ahead and give my opponent credit for the strong hands, and I end up folding the king high flush draw. Feels pretty gross. This is a very strong hand, maybe one of the stronger hands we can have here if we do raise ace high flush draws on the turn, or if we bet those on the flop. But I think in this spot I'm not really going to be good that often. But if you guys disagree and think I should be defending with the king high flush here, let me know in the comments. I'm super curious to see what people have to say about this hand in particular. The under the gun player opens for 20. I am in the big blinds with my favourite hand in all of poker, pocket aces. I 3-bet to 80, and then the under the gun player calls. We heads up to a flop of 6-5-4 with 2 hearts. The action's on me. I actually decide to check here. I definitely think there is merit to betting for value to try and get called by worse overpairs than mine. Also, flush draws can call. But I think I decide to check because a lot of those hands that are going to call my bet are going to actually bet themselves for value. So we can still get value from hands that way. And in addition, not really loving if I face a raise on this board. My opponent could definitely have straights here and sets. So I could decide to play it a bit more cautious and check it over to my opponent, who goes ahead and bets 110. Obviously, loving that news and not folding the aces here, I go ahead and call. The turn is the 7 of diamonds. Not the best card in the world at all for me. There is a 4-liner to both a 3 and an 8, so still going to go ahead and check it to the under the gun, and then he checks back. When he checks back, I'm pretty sure, I feel pretty confident he doesn't have an 8. I think it's more likely he has something like pocket 9s, pocket 10s, pocket jacks, maybe pocket queens, although I think that might 4-bet sometimes. And also, yeah, I think he has one of those hands. Like, I think if my opponent wanted to continue to bluff or like semi-bluff with a flush draw, I think he's definitely going to bet this turn. Like, if you think about the hands in my range that I 3-bet, they're hating this turn. Like, even I have pocket aces and I hate this turn. So if you did really want to put the screws to me with a bluff, I definitely think he's going to bet this turn, which plays into the river action for sure. So the river is the queen of clubs. Now I have the choice. Do I want to bet for value myself, or do I want to check it over to my opponent? Most likely to check call, because if I did check, it would be to induce a bluff most likely. I don't think a worse hand's going to bet for value. So I do decide to go ahead and value bet here for that reason. Like I said, if my opponent did have a bluff, ace-jack, 10-9, hearts missed obviously, so if they did have something like that, I think they're definitely betting that turn to put max pressure on my overpairs. But when they check back, I think it's much more likely those 9s, 10s, jacks, hands. So I want to try and bet for value from them. I make it 200, and then my opponent hits the tank hard, and they're in there for like a good 3-4 minutes. And they like start standing up at the table, rubbing their head like, "Oh my God, what do you think I have? Oh, what are you doing? Well, this doesn't make sense. What are you doing?" And trying to like talk to me, get a reaction, and I'm just, me, I'm going to keep my poker face and stay calm, not try to give any tells off. And then eventually, after a very, very long tank, my opponent goes ahead and folds.
The opponent later told me after the hand that he folded pocket jacks. Obviously that's believable considering the line he took with the hand, so a good fold on his part. And if he's folding hands like that, betting for value here might be a bit too thin.
But regardless, obviously my run good continues for the session. So this next hand definitely wasn't the biggest hand I won during the course of the session, but it just might be my favourite hand I played during the session. I am in the hijack with ace-5 of spades. I raise it up to 20, the cutoff calls, the small blind calls, and then the straddle goes ahead and 3-bets it to 120. The action's back on me. This is a spot I talk about pretty often in this vlog where I don't mind any 3 of the folding, calling or raising options. I think folding would definitely be on the conservative side considering we are 2.5k effective with the villain, getting a good price calling position. I definitely can see calling here with the ace-5 suited. Folding would be more conservative, but it does make sense. The straddle's going to be 3-betting a range that is stronger than ace-5 suited, so folding, a bit conservative, but don't mind it either. Calling I like, but I decided to go with my third option, and I'm mixing in the 4-bet bluff yet again on this vlog, but I know it didn't work when I used 6-5 suited. I like using ace-5 suited a lot more here because I have an ace, which means it's much less likely my opponent has pocket aces or a strong hand like ace-king, ace-queen, which theoretically means I know they're going to fold more in this spot. Plus, this opponent is aggressive and I know they're going to take squeeze spots, and I need to defend my opening ranges by mixing in these 4-bet bluffs sometimes, so he can't just squeeze every time I open. So I think this is a really good spot to go for the 4-bet bluff. I make it 300, but will it work? Well, the cutoff folds, that's good. Small blind folds as well, that's also good. Then the action's back on the straddle. Obviously he's the one that we're concerned about, and then he goes, I fold. We get it through this time with a 4-bet bluff. Yes! So, as you can tell from those hands, I did run very, very good this session. Obviously the King-8 suited hand, I did not win that hand, and I do not like how I played that hand, but regardless of if I played it well or not, I did run good during this session. So there were a few more big hands that I played. I think I won like an extra 700 when I flopped a set with pocket 5s on 10-5-2 and ended up stacking a player. There was another hand where I flopped a straight with 6-7 suited. It ended up getting 3 streets of value. So just ran very, very good over the course of this session. So fortunately I only needed to buy in the one time for 600, and I ended up cashing out 3,340. So obviously very good day, which is definitely the biggest win I have had on the vlog, and obviously super stoked with that result. But I think my play during the session, for the most part, I was pretty happy with how I played. Obviously the King-8 hand is a massive stuff up, and I absolutely hated the way I played it, so I can't say I played my A game for most of the session. And if I'm grading myself on a curve, obviously I ran amazing during this session, so I do have to take that into account. Definitely don't think I was on my A game, but I give my play a B. So subscribe if you want more poker vlogs, they'll be coming out soon. I'm heading to Sydney soon as well, so we will get a vlog out from the start. So look out for that, subscribe, and you'll get it when I upload it to YouTube. Again, everyone, thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram @LeeBets for those interactive hand histories. They're awesome. Please check it out. Until next time, peace.
Yeah.